Hello, my name is Michael Salmony, and I'd like to welcome you to another episode where we talk to interesting people around new ways of paying. And today I'm really happy to meet with Thomas, who works at Form3. He has a very interesting biography, which we can't go into now. He started in identity and various other things, and coming from the Nordics, he's obviously smarter than most of us. And now he works in a company which does A2A payments, so account to account payments and APIs, but it isn't actually open banking. So Thomas, can you help explain to us what you actually do?
Thank you, Michael, for that kind introduction. So I'm an ex-banker and payments M&A guy. I've been in payments now for more than 15 years in various roles. And I work for Form3, which provides bleeding edge account-to-account payment technology for regulated financial institutions. And it's not open banking related as such, although we do provide one open banking related product, which is confirmation of payee. But the main service we offer is we provide the messaging between the banks or the FIs and the clearing houses. So by clearing houses, I mean faster payments in the UK, BACS in the UK, EBA, SEPA in Europe, and the American clearinghouses too. And the messaging between the large banks and the clearinghouses is really high volume and really fast. And so the banks, in the past and some currently, they run those services internally through infrastructure they've built over the years. Some of it's legacy, some of it's outsourced, and it's quite expensive, time consuming and resource consuming for them to do so rather than to spend their time and resources on serving their customers. So that's really the bulk of our focus, is to provide a much better service than the banks can provide themselves.
Okay, so you're really at the hardcore back end of banks where you connect banks amongst each other and with central banks and basically do the clearing, if I understand it right. Not the settlement, because that goes through central banks, but the clearing between the banks. Is that roughly right?
Yeah, so we don't provide settlement. We're not in the flow of funds. Our original incorporated name is actually Back Office Technologies Limited. So it lies in the name, in a way, that this is back office technology to replace some of the bank's historic back office.
So that, yeah. So that explains the sort of A to A, that you move money from one account at one bank to another account at another bank. But can you help us understand where the API angle comes in? What is that about?
So before I get into the API and the messaging format, the key to get economies out of this is that we run one highly scalable and resilient platform for all our customers. Because if we had to run one for each customer, it would be a lot harder, obviously, to cut cost, right? So that's important. It's multi-tenanted, and we scale according to all our customers' needs. And currently, that is more than half of FPS participants and a substantial part of BACS, and also growing in other markets. Now, to do that, we clearly cannot say yes to everything each customer wants us to do in terms of specialization. It just doesn't work like that. So we have learned to say no to certain things. The connectivity is via a single set of APIs, and the language is JSON. And we've found JSON to be the purest and best format to use across our markets, because customers connect through one set of APIs for several schemes. So be that FPS in the UK and EBA SEPA in Europe, for example. And JSON is the language that's used for the connectivity for the one bank for both of those clearings. And that's a common language across.
Understood. So the API and with the JSON flavor is the sort of standard interface to your infrastructure where you make sure that everything gets handled in a standard way so you get the scale effect. But can you tell us a little bit about this? You mentioned this is sort of, it looks like a cloud solution, right? Which is sort of scalable, which of course is wonderful. But can you help us? Because I think you're one of the few cloud native providers. Can you explain what that is? And also maybe talk a little bit about the risks with the cloud, because that sounds like the data might be somewhere else and the banks have lost control and it's a single point of failure if this cloud goes down. Can you tell us a little bit about this cloud angle?
Yeah. So in order to provide the high resilience and scalability that I mentioned previously, this needs to be done in a cloud environment, a secure cloud environment. And a lot of FIs and other service providers in the world use cloud providers, Google, Amazon, Microsoft Azure, for all sorts of different transactional processing. With respect to security, that is embedded, although clearly it depends on how one connects to these cloud providers. What we also now provide is multi-cloud, because although we've got multi-region, and I've had that historically as we process using AWS, we have now also introduced multi-cloud, which means that, God forbid, should AWS fall over, we process the transactions in parallel on Google and AWS. So in real time, we can switch across for customers should one of the cloud providers, God forbid, fall over.
Okay, so that explains the resilience, right? You don't actually have your own cloud. You're outsourcing the cloud services to the big providers. But maybe you could say a bit more about the cloud native, because some companies are moving to cloud, and whereas you started that way. And also the data topic, that people might not feel comfortable having all their bank data at Amazon and at Google.
Exactly. To take the first topic in terms of cloud nativeness, is a bit of a marketing slogan that's certainly been used over the last several years. Well, for a company that says it's cloud native, you'd like to know whether there was anything else before. What does cloud native actually mean? As far as we're concerned, we never processed a transaction outside of a cloud environment. 2/3 of our employees are engineers, and we only take the best. Therefore, we've allowed home working as a way to, or remote first rather, to allow us to recruit the very best across Europe, including Central Eastern Europe, and now also the part of the Americas. We spend a lot of investment money on getting rid of old technology and replacing it with new, even in a cloud native environment, to stay on the bleeding edge of cloud technology and connectivity to cloud technology. Mm-hmm. And that is something that our customers have spent a long time going through. Certainly our biggest and oldest customers spent a long time getting comfortable with us. And they became comfortable with the way we look after their data, the way their data is looked after in a cloud environment, with Form3. And that's a much smoother process now, because so many others have been through it, and we built up an information security team to facilitate that.
Okay, that's great, Thomas. Yeah, I'm afraid our time has come to an end, but I certainly took away that you, by having really good people in your company, you really assure that nothing happens to the data, even though it may be stored in one of these clouds that some people have some more concern about. And also, I think you downplayed a little bit your cloud native. I think that's actually a huge asset. I know suppliers who, for example, add on privacy afterwards are not as good as those who think privacy first and begin with privacy. So I think your cloud native is a big asset. You started that way. So thank you very much, Thomas, for this very elucidating insight into something more at the periphery of what we usually talk about in this channel, about the sort of clearing infrastructure behind. But it's been very interesting, and there are lots of connections to our other topics. So thank you for your time. And thank you to all of you who've been watching this channel. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and please check out our other episodes and stay tuned for other very interesting people in fintech and payment innovations.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Thomas.